Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. A new background. You got a lamp, you got a window to look out, you have the Christmas tree that was never really put away, it just migrated into my bedroom. Alright, listen. I thought about this for the last 24 hours, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, I can't remember. I thought about it real hard while driving to work, and I have come to the consensus that I am going to be giving a detailed version of a story time, if you will, of when I was about 17 and 18. Most of the time it was when I was 18 when God lifted his hands off of me just enough for demons to manifest themselves into my bedroom. Now, I have a very sloppy list of what happened with this pretty pen that I found in a corner of my room. So, I have here that it pretty much started when I was about 15 years old. So when I was 15, I started high school. I was a freshman, and it is a huge deal for everybody when they are freshmen. And it's like, this is like the new you. This is like what the world is gonna see. This is what the seniors are gonna, have to face up against. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was a huge deal for everybody. And I learned pretty fast. Faster than I expected. That being a Christian was insanely uncool. Like, no one wants to hang out with a Christian because, especially with me, because I had limitations. I was birthed into this world with limitations, and I'm not saying that my parents were wrong. In fact, they would be wrong if they didn't give me limitations, but I did not have any music that was secular. I didn't know how to cuss. I didn't know how to live like a non-Christian when I was in high school. And one of the things that was cool when I was in high school as a freshman was, this was, I think, when iPods just came out. I think it was probably the iPod Touch that first came out, the little tiny, I still have it. It doesn't work though, but it's the tiniest little thing. I still had a CD player, mind you. And I would never let any of my friends ask me what kind of CDs I had, because they were all like, oh gosh, with all my parents' music was Wayne Watson, Keith Green, Twilight Paris, and then one of the CDs I really liked listening to was Wow 2007, and it's actually kind of how I got into Relient K. That was a band I really, really liked. But it was still uncool. My best friend, she liked Relient K, so she and I got along really, really well. But that was kind of like the moment when I realized I hate who I am. What a way to start high school. I'm a lame-o. So anyway, going on to age 17, skip 2 years, I was a junior in high school. And what happened here? So when I was a junior in high school is when I started skipping school, and I started drinking. I had a friend, not the same friend, my other friend, she thought I was nuts, and we stopped being friends because she didn't like who I became. But my new best friend, she used to steal alcohol, and we used to drink in this corner by Burger King by the school, and we used to be blackout drunk, and I was only 17, but we were drunk. I used to smoke cigarettes. My friend who was 18, she would buy cigarettes, and then I would smoke them. She would buy me a pack, and and so I remember having a bottle, not a bottle, but a can of beer with a cigarette, and then in my pinky, I would hold a cigarette here, and then my pinky would be a joint of pot, and I would smoke, drink, and boy, blah, 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 blah. I was nuts. I was skipping. I wasn't learning anything, and it made it difficult because my brother went to the same school, so I would have to have my friends spray me down with perfume because I just reeked of pot. I reeked of ashes, and I reeked of alcohol. But my brother, I'm sure he knew, because, you know, he doesn't say a lot of things. Like, if he sees something wrong, he doesn't say anything. But I was surprised that my parents didn't notice. I was like, I can keep doing this. Eventually, I did give up drinking, and I did give up smoking, both pot and cigarettes, because I didn't realize how much my father and my mother were hurt. Like, they had found out because the school had told them, like, you know what your daughter's doing? And they were like, we didn't know that. And I quit. Plus, I didn't want to get more in trouble because I don't want to be grounded for the rest of my life. So anyway, so that was over, but my mind was open at this moment. Like, I was open. And this is when my parents begged me not to buy this movie. So when I was, it was when I was 15, there was a movie on TV called Ghost Rider. It stars Nicolas Cage and Sam Elliott. You know, he's on a motorcycle. He turns into like a skeleton with fire, and he has, you know, it's a comic strip. I think it's from DC, if I'm not mistaken, or Marvel. I don't know. And they didn't like the whole concept that he like sold his soul to the devil and became like this ghost rider that would kill people. But I was like, that's so awesome. It's like so great. And I want it. And my parents were like, we're not getting it for you, you know, so you can just forget about it. So when I was 17, I bought Ghost Rider. I went to Fred Meyer's and I found it and I bought it. And I remember sneaking it in, and I remember playing it. And I never saw the full movie. I saw probably from half of it all the way to the end, because it was on cable. And I never saw the beginning of it. And the very first song that played was Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne. I had never heard of Crazy Train, but it sounded familiar and it sounded awesome, and it totally sucked me in. I was like, that song. So I kept rewinding it, and all it would play was the theme, you know, I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. Oh, you know, whatever. I think it's like 2 times he says it. I can't remember. I haven't listened to Ozzy Osbourne in forever. And I was like, this is so awesome. I love it. It attracts me. So, my dad had this system. He used to have an XP, like 2007 XP computer, and it had this, not an app, but it had like this computer system where you can record off of the computer and then download it onto your iPod or whatever. And it never crossed my mind until I had a dream that I downloaded it, and I woke up and went, I'm gonna go download Crazy Train. Or not download, but like record. So I'm not pirating, but I'm recording it off of the computer, off of YouTube. Because it would have been, I was 18 when I downloaded it. Or I keep downloading it. I recorded it at 18. And I did it during the night, and I knew, even at that time I knew that was Satan's ploy to get me in. But it was a great idea. So I went and I recorded it and I downloaded it and I listened to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, Ozzy Osbourne, he's a genius. Is he really? I mean, he's a great songwriter, but is he really a genius? So, let's see what happened here. So, again, at 18, I did not download. I recorded more and more of the songs until I had, like, this giant playlist, and I have to record off of YouTube, and I have to save it under a profile. I was smarter than just putting down Crazy Train, Ozzy Osbourne. I would go, blah, 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 blah. I would, like, just, and my dad's like, what is this stuff? I'm like, it's nothing, like, it's just art. Like, it's nothing, Dad. And he would never check. But he noticed that it was just a bunch of, like, nonsense on every single thing that I recorded. But he never, you know, opened them. So I was safe. but I had like this big playlist of all of his songs. And one of the songs that I liked was called Get Me Through. And I had actually read, it's kind of a side note, I actually read somewhere that if you play that song backwards in the middle, Ozzy Osbourne clearly says, I need Jesus Christ. But if you play it forward, it says like, we're having a good time or whatever. And it's like, oh my. That's a little side note. I don't believe in backward songs because they don't make sense. They sound enjoyable, so it's just, whatever. It just sounds dumb. So I had a big playlist, and all I listened to was Ozzy Osbourne. That's all I listened to. I didn't listen to anything else. Wow, 2007 was so 2007 at this point. So one day I was still 18. So this is when I just turned 18 when I pretty much listened to Ozzy Osbourne. I remember so clearly when everything changed. I was downstairs and I was laying on the couch and my brother and my mom were watching Forensic Files. I can't remember the episode, but I remember falling asleep, and I remember like in my dream watching this man. I don't know who he was, I don't know what he was doing, but he died by being run over by like that giant tractor that has like the giant rolling pin, that flattens out asphalt. Like, he died from that, and I woke up, like, that was a weird dream. Like, who was that man, I went upstairs to my bedroom, and I did not feel like I didn't feel safe. Like, that was, like, the weirdest sensation. I did not feel safe. And it was very cold, and everyone says that when there's demons around, it's cold, but, like, seriously, it was cold. And I remember sitting down and just like, kind of like hunched over, just like, I'm waiting for something to jump out. And I'm just sitting. And then I notice as I'm turning around, I'm like, I can sense, like that sixth sense that we all have. I know it's not a real sense, but it's like, we sense something. And the more I turned around, the more I realized, like, my sense was telling me it's coming from behind you. And I look over and I see my shadow. Just my shadow. But I don't trust it. I'm like in a intense state of fear. And I don't trust my own shadow. So I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Like, it's probably just because I had a weird dream, and Ozzy Osbourne always makes me feel better, because that's what I put here. He always makes me feel better, and so I listen to his music, and immediately I'm just like, whoa. Maybe not. So I take off my headphones. I'm like, maybe not, and I turn around again, and I have like this weird sensation to put my arm back, and like I'm not even kidding you guys, waiting for someone to grab my hand from behind me. Like, that's how real it was. But there was a wall, and all I could see was my shadow. And I'm thinking, this is just, come on, I had a weird dream. Plus, Forensic Files, the guy who narrates Forensic Files is creepy. I probably just heard him in my sleep. I'll just go to bed. But I couldn't sleep. Like, the fear never went away. So I got up and went downstairs and slept on the couch. Next day I woke up, everything was fine, because, it is actually true that demons don't necessarily exist, if you will, during the day, because it's bright out and emotions are different, and you're not as vulnerable, I guess. So I'm like, okay, whatever, that was just a weird night. The sun comes down and that fear comes back. And my sense went right to that shadow behind me, and I kid you not. Because yesterday, when I turned around to look at my shadow, I could see the outline of my nose and the outline of my mouth and my chin. I turn around and my shadow is looking at me. I do not see my nose, I do not see my mouth, I do not see my chin. My shadow is looking straight at me. And I got up and I said, I'm going downstairs. And I went downstairs. Next day, I come up, everything's fine. My shadow is kind of there because of the sun, plus my light's always on. And I'm like, well, there's my nose. Like, what's going on? Like maybe it was just like a freak. Like, maybe the light bent. Like, what's going on? Like, shadows aren't supposed to look at you. Well, over time, I kind of just get used to it. Like, the more I turned around, I saw my nose, I saw my mouth. Like, okay. But that shadow kept bugging me. And then I started noticing that there would be, like, shapes. Like, these shadow shapes. Like, for example, like, even, like, kind of like this. I don't know what that is. There'll be, like, a shadow casted here from when I'm doing this. There'll be a shadow there, but there'll be nothing here. It would, a form of some kind of shape would form out of nowhere with nothing to cause it. So I was like, okay, well, that's really weird. I mean, what's going on? There's my shadow, and now I'm seeing shapes. What's going on? But I don't turn to the Lord because at this point, which I did fail to mention, is that when I was 17 and I started drinking, I didn't want anything to do with God. I'm like, I'm sorry, Lord. I apologize for saying this now, Lord. You know I love you so much, but I just didn't want him because he was uncool. He was making me uncool, and I wanted to live a little. So, pretty much the peak of it, no, this is not the peak. This is like getting up to the peak. I live by a freeway. There is this, what is this? No, okay, so it intensifies to when I'm sitting, and of course I'm listening to Ozzy Osbourne because I'm not going to stop listening to him, and I kid you not, like right next to my door, in my peripheral view, I see a shadow man. And if you guys ever seen Lord of the Rings, and you know, like the first movie, those what are they called? Not wraiths, because wraiths are in the third one. The ones on the horses, and they have like the hoods. That's what I saw. He had a cloak. He had no face, but he was for a split second. I looked over and went, whoa. And I learned later from like my mom, because I talked to her about that, and she goes, that's like that was a demon. You can't see his face because we don't know what they look like. Like we can't see their faces. And so I actually saw a demon, and he looked like a normal man. He manifested himself into a normal man wearing a black cloak with a hood and no face. Did that stop me? Of course it did not stop me. What finally made me stop was the peak. And I feel so bad about this because finally I think that I had fought the demons so much. Oh, wait a minute, wait. Before I go on, I forgot about that. I didn't add that. Pretty much where things kind of got out of control was when I went upstairs. I was already scared to go upstairs because I know that there are going to be shadows up there that don't make any sense. But I turned right around when I opened my bedroom door. And I'm over here by the doorway. And where I sit, on the wall, was my shadow. My shadow was sitting where I sit. Like it was on the wall as if I was sitting on the couch. And I turned right around. I was like, I'm not playing with this. What's going on here? I never made the correlation that Ozzy Osbourne was at fault or his music was at fault. Never made any sense to me. It never like made sense to me. The peak of it all was, I think that at one point the Lord allowed the demons to escape that room. And they more or less tormented my family. My mom said that one day she woke up and everybody was asleep And I was well into the whole demons being in my bedroom, so this wasn't like the first few nights, this was months. My mom goes to the bathroom, nobody is up, and the door didn't shut all the way, because it doesn't, you literally have to shut it. And she uses the restroom, and she sees in a peripheral view a human hand on the door, and then it pulls away. She gets up and she goes, she calls for, my dad and my brother. Nobody. She calls for me, but I was upstairs asleep. And she was like, and my mom was praying that she was hoping that was an angel. And then it affected my brother and my mom. I don't know where I was at. I might have been upstairs bringing more demons in, but my brother and my mom were in the living room, and they were watching, I think they said they were watching Javen and McGee, and all of a sudden, my brother's Xbox, that's downstairs, turns on. You have to, like, wave your hand across, like, the sensor for it to turn on. So someone was down there, turning that thing on, and then, we have a computer in the kitchen. We have a nook where we have a computer. It's no longer there anymore, but all of a sudden, the computer was off, but the speakers turned on, and it just made this white noise. No one turned it on. And my brother went to go turn it off, went to turn off his Xbox, and that's when my mom said, we're going to talk to Bethany. Like, these are her demons, and we don't want them. So, I don't remember how I stopped listening to Ozzy Osbourne, but, I did, but the demons never stopped following me, which is the saddest thing. I lived at my parents' place until I was 23, and I finally moved out. No, I was 22 when I moved out, and they never stopped following me. Even to this day, I have a weird sense to look over my shoulder, which is completely explainable. What was on my wall yesterday? What do I have in my drawers? I have more albums in my drawers. I have that baggage that I never let go. I let go of Ozzy Osbourne, but a lot of other baggage I never dropped, and I am still... to be honest with you, I don't sleep in this bedroom because I just sensed something in this, because it's just followed me. It's a lot more tame, but I can't sleep in here because there's just a presence that is in this bedroom that I don't like. And I am hoping, and trust me, it has gotten a lot better since I started reading the Bible, but it still follows me, and I'm so close to getting it completely gone. And with the Lord's help, and me fighting against the temptation to listen to heavy metal, I will rid every single dark force that I have carried around me for 10 plus years. Okay, I'm so sorry. Alright, so that was my story time. Oh, by the way, I wanted to add that my father moved upstairs. Like, he moved all of his belongings upstairs. He has, like, an office up there, and whenever I go over there, I don't sense anything. So I'm glad that he doesn't have to deal with anything. So they're all with me, so. Alright, so that is the end of my storytelling. 25 minutes. Goodness gracious, you guys. I have so much to say. Alright. Bye.